Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Djmoetv. Today we're gonna do in a DIY. I know you guys seen those rods that light up at night under a black light. They are all over Amazon, but they're pretty pricey, guys. So today we're gonna turn one of our rods that we got sitting in the garage that we never use into one of those nice glow in the dark rods. I'm gonna be showing you step by step how to do that, and we're gonna be doing it with a fraction of the price of one. So let's get into it. Hey guys, so this is what you're gonna need. You always need a rod. If you have a rod laying around that you don't use, this is a really old rod I have laying around on my garage. It's actually a Ctafihsing stick from Shakespeare. It's a decent rod, I just don't use it as much. So this is what it looks like. It's a two-piece rod, decent rod for catfishing. So this is the one we're gonna be using for this DIY. The next thing you're gonna need is gonna be your prime. This is the one we're gonna be using. The reason I have the satin prime is because it actually dries out white, and that's what we want. We want a prime that dries out white. That way the next layer that we're gonna be using, which is this right here, this is the neon ink, guys. This stuff lights up under a black light and it's gonna be looking pretty sharp on that green color. So this actually got it from Amazon. I think I paid $8 to $10. I can't really remember, but this should be enough for a few rods. Next thing you're gonna need is just some good old clear coat. And this I got at Home Depot. Got this at Home Depot, got that at Home Depot. Another couple things you're gonna need is some paint to tape, because we're gonna cover our guys and we're gonna cover the bottom of the rod. We're only gonna be painting from the handle up, so we need some of these. We also got just a small brush and a paint container. I think this was like $1 and this was like $3. So this is specifically for this project. That's why I decided to just buy it, and when I'm done with it I can just discard it. Also, you need some sandpaper. All right, this is 120, but I also got 220 for in between layers, guys. Alright guys, the first step we're going to be doing is going to be cleaning the rod. This rod has been sitting on my garage for a long time and it's been used before, so I want to make sure that all the dust, all the dirt on the rod is removed. Also, you want to remember, if your rod has a couple decals, you will want to remove those, because if you keep them, the prime is not going to adhere to it. Now the next step we're going to be doing is going to be using a painter's tape. We're gonna be covering all the parts on the rod that we don't want to paint. That is the eyes of the rod and the handle. So I'm gonna use my tape and cover all those areas. That way I don't have to worry about accidentally painting over them. Now it's time to sand. We're gonna be sanding down the finish on this rod. This rod has a finish that's glossy, and that's gonna make it hard for our primer to adhere to the rod. So we're gonna sand it and make sure we take all of that finish. That way the primer will stick to the rod better. Once we finish cleaning it, we can go ahead and start priming our rod. We're gonna be using the primer. We're gonna spray it all around the rod. Make sure you don't miss any spots and lay it down a little thick. We're also gonna be sanding it after it cures. So you want to lay it down a little thick, that way you don't have to do multiple coats with the primer. Okay, so we are actually done with the first coat. As you guys can see, I got my rod sitting here. They're leaning against the eyes, so nothing's actually touching the rod. Now all we have to do is wait so they dry out. It's probably gonna take a whole day for that prime to dry out, and then we're gonna go back, sand it, and apply the neon ink. All right guys, so it's the next day and we got a rod nice and dry. Came out really good. As you guys can see, it just has that white finish to it. So we're gonna give it a little bit of sanding, really light sanding, and then we're gonna add our neon paint to it. Like I told you at the beginning of the video, or earlier in the video, should I say, that we're gonna be using this neon paint. I got this on Amazon. It's not a lot, but it should be enough to do a couple rods if you actually get the same paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand the rod, light sand it, and then I'm gonna start painting it with our neon ink here, because I'm gonna just sand it very lightly. We don't want to take the coat of the prime off. And if you have any areas that it's a little bit raised, like I think somewhere around here, there was a little bit of excess, maybe it's on this part right here. I don't know if you can see, but if you have any excess of primer, you want to take that down. Just be careful you don't sand too much and you take the primer off. After you guys are done sanding, we're gonna clean it up. Make sure we get rid of all that dust. Pretty much every time we add a coat, you want to make sure you clean the surface. I'm just using Windex to catch all dust, but you can use water, or I think some alcohol to do it too as well. But just clean the surface that you're trying to paint. Just gonna go ahead and dump a little bit of the ink right there. I think that should be enough to paint the whole rod. And like I told you, I'm using a brand new brush here. You have an old brush, you can use an old brush, but just gonna start painting our rod with the neon ink on it. Most likely you're gonna have to do a couple coats here, and I'm laying it down thick. Alright, I'm laying it down thick. We're gonna do probably 2 or 3 coats. I'm gonna lay down the first one, let it dry, then come back and hit it again, and just do it 3 times. Okay, this ink seems to be very thin, so I'm trying to lay it down as thick as possible on the first coat here. Alright guys, so we're done with the first coat. As you guys can see, it didn't take long to actually apply that coat of paint. It's just the first one. We need to hit it with 2 more, but it's already looking pretty good. We're gonna let it dry overnight and probably hit it tomorrow one more time, and just take our times with the process to actually get a really good product at the end. But I'm happy with it so far, and see you guys tomorrow. All right guys, so we got our rods painted, and I end up actually putting 3 different coats on this rod. Now I'm gonna be moving on to the next step, and that's gonna be putting some clear coat on them to protect the paint. This is just Rust-Oleum Universal clear coat, guys. You can use any brand you guys like, it has to be clear, so it protects your paint. And I think this paint actually will come off if you get your rod wet, so we definitely gotta use that clear coat. So we're gonna go ahead and start spraying them out, and that's gonna be the final step on this process. I'm probably gonna be doing 2 to 3 coats of clear paint to make sure they're nice and sealed, and we're gonna be looking at what the result is with the lights, the black lights, and see how it's gonna look at night. But I'm happy how they look. I probably will, if I have to change anything, I will actually find a neon ink that's a little bit thicker. All right, you wanna make sure you do this somewhere that has ventilation. If you do it indoors, just make sure you do it somewhere that has a good source of ventilation. That way you don't be breathing the chemicals of the paint. Or you can just wear a mask if you want to. This is gonna be the first coat, so I'm going a little bit thick with it, making sure I get every single part of the rod. Make sure you get this side right here. Make sure it seals. There we go. So now we're gonna let it dry, and I'll see you guys at the end of the 3 coats I'm gonna be putting of clear coat, and I'll show you the results so you can see. If you want to do the same thing to your rods, be able to see your rods in the middle of the night if you go catfishing. So all right guys, there we go. It's the final product right here. You guys can see it came out pretty good. I end up putting 3 coats of that clear coat, so came out really nice. I'm happy with the result. I'll be showing you some footage of how it actually glows in the dark under a black light. So I'm gonna leave you with that. But if you made it this far in the video, guys, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share. Thank you for watching it, guys. And if you want to do this DIY, just let me know down in the comments, see how it turns out for you. But I'll leave you with the footage of the rod and how it glows in the dark. Have a little close-up so you can see how can you make your rod glow in the dark for less than 20 bucks. So with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.